We did it. We're back. Welcome to Triple T. I don't know what the T's stand for, but we're a couple of dudes that I think still have pretty good T levels. The voice you're hearing, it's me, it's Matt, it's Beard Laws, and joining me is Yo-Yo King, Burley.
Yo.
We just spent an hour talking backstage and forgot to press the button, but we have our voices sounding better. We got some coffee. We got some pre-workout. It's going to be an episode. I'm pretty excited about this
tingles.
one.
That means it's working, dude. It's like Selsun Blue.
And usually we go off on some weird tangents about what we've been doing and this and that, and we think we have a lot of information to cover. And we don't even know if we're going to get through this, so if we don't, spoiler alert, there might be a part 2, but if we get through it, then you're welcome. What are we talking about?
But there's so much.
We're
going to be trying to be adults about this, because the title alone makes me giggle.
Yeah. Good old, if you can't read, the title is Mel's Hole. Good old Mel and his hole. Like I said, it's a pretty good one. I think I threw this out there to Burley last week or the other week, and it was instant giggles because, yes, our T levels might be good, but our immaturity is also pretty high.
Yeah. Our at your age, not your shoe size. I've kind of messed that one up a little bit.
What shoe size are you?
10.5.
I think we played a game the other day where we guessed them. I think I guessed right.
No, both of y'all said I wasn't even in the 10s, and I remember being like, these fools, and then I kept forgetting to bring it up.
Oh. All right, we'll save that for Wednesday. We'll run that back. But Mel's Hole, I don't know if anybody listening has heard of this. Maybe you're here because you haven't. And I'm going to say this before we get real into it. There's a lot of videos on it. And whether it's on YouTube and this and that, and I don't know, you must have stumbled upon it doing your research. Just about every single one is the same exact voice with different images. I'm pretty sure all of these different channels are either working with each other or they stole the content because they are all the same voices and just different images and stuff that aren't really of Mel's Hole. And they always get you because it's drone footage captures what's inside Mel's Hole. And I'm like, you sons of, there is nothing about a drone.
That's why I had to back away from YouTube and just go straight to the source material. Because that's why I told you, I was like, dude, I don't know if we're gonna be able to knock this. There's a lot of material here, dude. I'm 6 hours into this stuff.
and what he's doing, Burley actually spent some time, and I took a little bit of time, but I don't think as much as him, is actually listening to potential interviews of some people that we're gonna. Well, let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, jump right in, dude. Give us.
So obviously, Mel's Hole, if you don't feel like googling, is it's a funny name, but it's what is alleged, I guess is the right word, is some kind of bottomless pit that is in Ellensburg, Washington. Yeah. And what's kind of crazy to me is this property has been around for generations and generations. And they use this as pretty much their private dump.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was when Mel and them were talking on the interviews, he even said when he first bought the property that he was still allowing neighbors, and there was always traffic, and people were just taking this pit and just throwing anything and everything into said landfill.
At a certain point, he says he really liked to toss tube TVs down the hole because he liked the pop that it made. Animals, dead animals they're tossing down there.
Yep.
Trash.
And there was there was the one report of a neighbor threw his dead dog into the pit.
Yes.
And
let's
then
not get to that yet. Let's not get to that yet.
Oh, we're not.
That's
come back for that.
Fun. Yeah.
It is.
There's some good stuff there. But the tires. Lots of tires. Yeah. There was a local tire shop that's where they would toss their unreusable tires. You know.
I have to imagine, with that being said, mechanics are probably dumping a ton of oil, a ton of whatever stuff that were in landfills before. I don't know if there's like a landfill committee that was like deems you can't dump this stuff in our pits anymore because that's the world we're living in. But yeah, in Mel and them thought it was a little bit weird that they had been dumping lots of trash, tires, fridges, dryers. No offense, Burley. Sorry to bring that back up. Animals. There wasn't a smell, and it never filled up. It's a little weird, right?
Very. Very.
And it was just I guess to give it a visual, everything that I've seen, it's obviously a really, really big pit, but there was some, what was it, like cement or some kind of bricks. I'm not a masonry person, but that was around the pit, and I guess it went about 15 feet deep
Mm-hmm.
and quite a bit. I forget how wide it is, but it's
It
fairly
was
wide.
9 feet 8 inches, I believe, across.
That's the wingspan right now of a guy that plays for Duke basketball, because I happened to look that up yesterday.
Odd. Wait,
Yeah, the guy's
is he
7'2"
linked
with
to this? Look him up.
ooh, he's 7'2" with a 9'8" wingspan. It's a
Jesus.
pretty big fella.
Oh man, where was this? Where was this located? I forget the location that Mr. Mel Waters said that he said it was from.
The like the town?
Oh, sorry, Ellensburg, Washington.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this, did you already mention what this started on? What show?
No. Go ahead.
Did you ever watch, or sorry, not watch, but listen to Coast to Coast AM?
I didn't.
Art Bell. I think Art Bell was the fill-in guy. There was a guy before that, I believe.
Oh, let's look it up.
But I discovered Coast to Coast when I first discovered the marijuanas, and they really go well together. Let's be honest, dude. It's a spooky show. It starts at like 10 at night and then goes to like 2 in the morning. So it was like all overnight shows. Like the rabid fan base was staying up late for this one, but it was always just wild stuff.
For anybody that doesn't know, obviously, Arthur William Bell III, can I buy a vowel? Was an American broadcaster and an author. I didn't know he was an author as well. And he was actually the founder and the original host of the paranormal themed program Coast to Coast AM.
Okay. So there's a new guy now. Art Bell died, I believe, in like 2018 or 2019.
Yep. George Noory, Noory.
Yeah, George Noory, yeah.
Is it's still out there, I guess, from there. But Bell's past shows from 96 to 2000 are often repeated on premiere networks and Saturday mornings. They are retitled Somewhere in Time with Art Bell. If anybody wants to look it up.
And we do encourage anybody to go to the Coast to Coast website. Don't steal these off the internet.
Yeah.
I think it's like $6. Just go. That's how we got it. It's like $6. Come on.
That's even less than trying to go to some sub shops that are nationally known brand that used to have a spokesperson that's potentially in jail, and you can't even get a 6-inch tuna sub with a drink and some chips for $6.
No, everything's
Support some better people. Coast to Coast, baby.
Go to Coast to Coast. But you got a fax one day, a facsimile. You remember those? Yeah. I guarantee if I asked my kid what a facsimile was, she would have no idea. But you got a fax one day. And can I preface this real quick, Matt, by saying, if this is a hoax, it's the most perfectly set up hoax of all time.
Yeah.
Of all time. Because usually when a hoax starts, the person trying to do the hoax gives you way too much information and it's super precise, and it's Mr. Mel Waters here.
Either
it's real or it's just perfect.
Yeah, and I have to imagine, though, that if you're going to pull off a hoax, much easier to do in that time. I mean, we're on a radio show, this and that, but there's too many people that have seen, been around it, heard about it, the aftermath of when we get to this, to me, screams not a hoax.
That's
what I mean? Saying. Yeah.
Okay, so Art Bell gets a fax. Hey, and it's not like, hey, I have yeah. Says, hey, it doesn't say, hey, I have this thing that you need to look into. No, it's like, hey, can you ask your listeners if they have any idea what this could be? And then it's basically inquisitive, hey, I have this thing in my property that is this hole. We dump all this trash down and we never hear it hit the bottom. It never fills up. It's been numerous decades of all the neighbors and everything throwing all their trash down here, and it never seems to fill up. And
Who's Philip?
Yeah, write that down. we have a new side quest now. Never seems to fill up, and I'm just trying to figure out if is this even possible.
Mm-hmm.
So this piques Art Bill's interest.
Obviously.
And he just leaves a phone number at the top of the thing. Doesn't tell him to call. Nothing like that. He just wanted him to talk about it on the air. But Art Bell saw a phone number on there, and he calls and gets Mr. Mel Waters on the phone. And that's when the fun starts.
Now, before we get into this, Mel Waters, I think that's a real name, cover-up name.
Many people have looked up this name in the Ellensburg, Washington area with nothing but people from like the 1800s.
Yep. But so then there's a whole nother thing. Was he a time traveler? But without giving too much away, as this story hits its peak, I guess, and people get involved, pretty sure it would be pretty easy for said people to go ahead and scrub said person from little developed internet.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, I mean, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Based off of what we just talked about, if that's all the information you have, you don't know anything that happens after that. And do you think it's real? What do you think it is? Is somewhere other dimension just getting so much trash just piled into it? Some guy sitting in his little village going, what the hell? Just tires popping up everywhere.
Yeah, like you said, tires, boom, boom, boom. Oh, here comes another dead dog. Watch out, here's another tube TV.
Just ruining some planet or wherever it's going.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it has to go somewhere. And not being a geologist or not knowing this, like, everybody said that it just physically, not everybody, but certain people in that realm said, no, there's no way that it could be a thing. It would have collapsed in itself. But then you get thinking, like, mines are pretty deep. You know what I mean? When we're doing a lot of mining in the world, miles and miles deep. Who's to say it's...
In 1997, the deepest you could drill by oil rig standards, 1,640 feet was the deepest you could drill in 1997.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there, that is something that I looked up. And as we move forward, you will see that we go way past that depth.
Very much so.
Okay.
let's get right into that then, with that being said. So Mel, from some stuff that I've seen and heard, I guess was a fisherman into fishing, which makes sense. Washington, there's water. Lots of, obviously rain, but
to the
water.
Specifics, shark.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm curious. Let's see how deep this is. So from what I grabbed his fishing rod and went down, I don't know, let's say 200 feet. I don't know. I'm throwing some numbers out there with some fishing line, whatever he had. Didn't hit, right? Mm-hmm. Then I believe he took some lifesavers and wanted to put them on the line. That way, if it hit water, he would know because of the lifesaver. And shout out to an area near me, the lifesaver. There's a huge lifesaver thing, the wrapping to be able to contain them, whatever's in them forever. And it was purchased by some people like 30 minutes from me. That's cool, huh?
What?
Yeah, the lifesavers was bought, and the tinfoil wrapper around them was actually developed by some people here to be able to preserve them, ship them, have them last longer and stuff like that.
Huh.
Yeah, kind of cool.
I have not even seen lifesavers in forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Takes them, dips them. Still nothing.
That is a pretty cool little trick, though. So I was kind of hoping you had some insight on this, because I was trying to figure out what he was explaining on there about this lifesaver thing and how fishermen use it. It involves something with bait inside of a balloon. Have you ever heard of this? Like
No.
fishing bait inside of a balloon, and then the lifesavers go on there to dissolve. I don't know, man. It was very wild, and it's something apparently that it's an old school thing that fishermen do, because you wouldn't want to do it now because you're just tossing latex in the ocean. But
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I'm sure they made those lifesavers a little bit different.
well, no, even back then it was just okay to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't worry about them microplastics.
I guess we should also say we don't have an idea yet at this point of how old Mel is. We know he sounds older. We can tell. I don't know if you listen to any of the interviews, but you can hear him get up and sit down, like, when he sits down and stands up and stuff like that. So, he's definitely an older gentleman, and he said he's retired from the shark hunting game. So
that sounds pretty cool too. Like, yeah, I'm retired from fishing sharks. Wonder what he thought about Jaws. Wonder if he had a bigger boat.
What was the dude's name in Jaws that they hired to shark?
John, wasn't it?
Wasn't it like Quinn or something like that?
Oh, that sounds. Yeah, I don't know. That's why we needed Burley, or not Burley.
I am Burley.
Yeah, it was Quint.
Quint.
You were closest. Okay. Robert Shaw.
Okay. Yeah.
You son of a.
He's the guy that they hired, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Burley, how deep did they get?
So it's funny how he did. So like you said, he puts a 1 pound weight on this filament line. That's 20-pound test, and that's gonna be a very important detail. 20-pound test line with a 1 pound weight on it, and everybody's like, 1 pound, that's crazy. Well, not when you're fishing sharks,
dropping it down into air.
Yeah, also not when you're fishing for sharks, right? It's not like a made up detail. Everybody picks apart every little thing he says because they want to know if this is a hoax. So some of this stuff actually does make sense, and if he is doing a hoax, he understands details well. So he starts lowering line 1,500 feet at a time. Still hasn't hit bottom. He's stringing up line after line after line. And he gets to, I believe, let me look at my notes here. I think it's 80,000 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the listeners did a thing where I didn't even think about but how much does that weigh? Right?
Yeah.
How much does the filament weigh outside of the spool? 80,000 feet of filament. So doing some crappy math after a few days, Mel comes back. He says, about 18 pounds. So they're trying to figure out, okay, is the weight so much that he probably is snagged up on a root or something, and he just doesn't know because the weight of the line is so much that is keeping it taut, But, we never get to that. At this point, I'm wondering, like, okay, aren't there like underground streams and stuff like that? Like, maybe it's going down and like being swept away, possibly.
Lifesavers come up. What? A little dry.
Good point on the lifesavers.
Yeah. You would feel it too. If he's a shark fisherman, and I don't know how much fishing you've done, and it's definitely not like 80,000 feet deep. But when you're what they call jigging, right? So it goes down there. You have the weight, and you kind of just you're using your other senses. You can feel the bottom, and you can feel that weight hit. And then what you do is then you lift it, and then you can feel it hit again. Boom, boom. And the sensitivity on the pole, you're going to feel it drifting, is what I'm saying. I feel like you're going to hit the bottom. I don't know about 80,000 feet. That's pretty deep. But you're going to feel something.
Per mill, he got to the point where he had to build a little contraption to where he was ensuring that he wasn't going to hit the sides of the hole, right? Because if you did this, like with your pole, for that little action to happen all the way down the line, it would take forever. So he set up a contraption to where he was just going straight down the center of the hole. We didn't mention that they also claimed that if you put metals next to this thing, some alchemical things would happen and they would change metals. Some metals, alchemy was happening.
Not only that, frequencies.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that part.
Oh yeah, I mean there was one of the craziest stories that I remember hearing. People would go say with a radio, or they would bring some electronics, and next thing you know, it would pick up like old broadcasts
Oh, I did hear about this.
of different
Oh,
shows.
yes.
Maybe it was an old baseball game from years ago, a football game, a broadcast that was for, and it would just pick up these weird frequencies. I mean, everything there. I mean, at the same time, we don't have cell phones. We don't have all this technology that we have today, but everything that went there went nuts. Animals wouldn't go near the damn thing at all. I mean, having meltdowns, which there's a story we'll get to in a little bit of an animal.
So
And it's
I learned a new term when learning about this. Have you ever heard
ooh,
of a attractive nuisance?
attractive nuisance. No.
An attractive nuisance is, for instance, if you had a swimming pool. A swimming pool is what is referred to as an attractive nuisance. I think the term comes from this kid that went into a house that was under construction and was found in there, and then fell down a hole where like the stairs
Oh.
would be, but they weren't built yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the family sued the construction company and won because they didn't have anything blocking it off. So originally, they didn't have a cover over this hole, which Mel did because he saw it as an attractive nuisance, and that he was worried about things going down in there and dying. I can't remember what I texted you. I can't. Maybe you can see it in the text. There was another thing that kind of linked to this. It was like, oh yeah. Can you look this up?
Yeah.
The Huska Castle Pit.
Okay.
So a lot of people drew parallels of Mel's story to the Huska Castle.
So the Huska Castle is an early Gothic castle in the municipality of Blats in the Liberec region of the Czech Republic, near Prague.
Look up the pit, the Huska Castle Pit. Apparently, the prisoners would go into this pit.
Legend has it that the castle was built in the 13th century to trap demons in a pit in the courtyard. The pit was said to be so deep that no one could see the bottom, and was rumored to be the source of half-animal, half-human creatures.
People would go down there to kind of check them out, and then they would come up crazy, i.e. half demon, half animal creatures coming back.
Yeah, a lot of strange things, not only in the castle and the pit, that they always felt and had seen things following them. Others say that the castle is a meeting place for experts on the occult, UFOs, and paranormal phenomena.
So you might want to add that one to the list. We have to cover one of these days. But there's some parallels to that story and Mills. But
yeah,
what do you do if you have this on your property?
I don't think I go I don't know if I go coast to coast radio and expose it, but these days you could probably make some pretty good money in some appearances, and maybe that's the move, because I think, didn't he say in some interviews, like more or less, like him getting on there wasn't to draw attention, it wasn't to make money, it was more or less like, I want to share this with the world because it is like what they thought at the time, like nowhere else in the world.
Yeah, I think it was even more innocent than that. If you really take this at face value, it sounds like he just wanted to know what was going on.
Yeah,
he wasn't trying to make a buck off of it or anything.
Yep. And being an author, both of them, and this is kind of my thing. Yes, they're creative. Yes, they may have some visions, writing, whatever. But at the same point, like, I feel like Art, of all people, yes, is his show really thriving because of this story and some stuff like that? Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think he's going to see through kind of some of the bullshit. Like, I think he's got a good bullshit meter with what he does, who he talks to, how he talks to some people. And I mean, he really was invested into this story. Like, just like, obviously we got hooked on this. No shark fishing puns intended there, but
I mean, some might say we dove deep into Mel's hole.
Hey.
No, I agree, and you can hear it in Art Bell's voice when he's like, "You're not, yanking my chain, are you, Dave?" He's kind of known as an interviewer. He's like the paranormal Howard Stern. He knows how to just drill in and get the nitty gritty out of people. He's tough on his interviews, just to make sure that they're not, full of it. And I will say that Mel never claims to have seen some of these crazy things we're about to talk about. He's like, hey, this is what I've been told. This is what people have told me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty wild. But do you want to? Yeah, why don't you tell this doggo story?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So we kind of hinted about it. A neighbor said, "You know what? We just lost. What do you think the dog's name was? Snowflake."
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. East Coast, maybe. I don't. Well, we just lost our dog. Let's go over to the pit, say goodbye, toss it in there. So he throws the old dead dog into the hole. And shortly after, which I don't know if it was a day, hours, however it was, apparently, this man sees the dog back alive. Same dog, same obviously color, same collar, everything.
Mm-hmm.
He swears it was the dog that he just threw in that pit. But the weird part was, it was kind of like he looked at it, he was calling old Snowflake, and it seemed like the dog, as he described, or several people described, almost like it was like sent to a different dimension. It was stuck on reset or something because it didn't come over. It was there. It was alive, but it wasn't like my dog, like, come here, bud. And I was all excited. It was just on a mission. It was just there and gone, never to be seen again.
Said it would. Apparently, they saw it twice, or maybe 3 times, but apparently they saw it twice at least, because once they saw it, what looked like he was hunting with another person in the woods, and then another time they saw the same dog in town. But like you said, would not come over. Tried to call it, didn't even acknowledge him. What are you doing? What are you doing if you see that?
I'm picking up a bottle of something.
Yeah, I'm moving.
I'm gonna have some booze and be like, well, I don't think if it's me in the, say, late 90s or something like that. Obviously not me. I'm an older guy. The way that I grew up, I'm probably not telling a goddamn person because they're gonna think I'm crazy and they're probably gonna try to throw me in some loony bin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's take ourselves and put ourselves back in 1997. By the way, the same day that this interview happens is the same day that Dolly the sheep is announced.
Ooh, which, stick around, we have our own little sheep story.
Ooh, a little sexy sheep.
Maybe you're from Alabama. Roll Tide, baby.
I couldn't resist.
No, it's pretty good. What else is crazy is obviously the dog. It comes back, maybe another dimension, maybe who knows what it is. But we talked about radios are going kind of crazy. But all the there's people that have been near Mel's hole, giggity, and experienced dizziness, nausea, discomfort. They've seen like weird lights, flashes of lights, this kind of lights, and so something's going on with this. Whether it's something that can be proven scientifically. Maybe it's something that can't be proven scientifically at this point. You know what I mean? Maybe it's something that could be now. But something's going on with this hole. I mean, it's obvious. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's crazy, something's going on with this damn thing.
So at this point, the interview ends.
Yep.
3 days pass. But in those 3 days, the fans of Coast to Coast are losing their mind. People are calling in, volunteering I will go down that hole. Lower me down the hole. One guy from Austin, Texas was just like, yeah, send me down that hole. The only thing I ask is that I have a button that I can go up immediately. He's like, I understand that if something is down there and eats me, it is what it is. But I just want to know that I can go up when I can.
Assuming you're conscious enough to be able to press it. Because my first thing is like, all right, you put something down in there. Like there's got to be some kind of gases or something that could potentially hit you, knock you out.
I didn't even think about that.
And it's, I don't know why my brain went that way, but when you look at that, whether you hate it or love it, I haven't put a lot of time into it, but the Curse of Oak Island, you know what I mean? I don't know. Have you heard of this?
No.
So it's this whole island that's it's up in Canada somewhere. And they swear that, the Ark of the Covenant and all of these prizes, these treasures have been in there. And it's a TV show that's been going on for a very long time. And they always hook you like, come back next week. Look what we find. And it turns out they don't really find much, but like little coins, some pottery. They find some interesting things. But the old saying is, just because it's on TV doesn't mean it's real. I don't know what they find, but It's a wild story. From, they have a money pit, they have like this man-made pond, and it's the whole thing for like you see with the pyramids and all the other stuff, where like this point ties to this point, this one is here, and like everything is calculated, and
Yeah.
like where is they are, swear that something from the what's the masonry people, Knights Templar and all them, that
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You said
something,
masonry. I thought you were like bricklayers. What do you do?
yeah,
Yeah.
something back in the day has hid some things. That's the
Oh,
whole
I
thing.
believe that.
So that
I believe
maybe
that.
that's a cool little pit. But in there, the cursors, whatever, is like so many people have to die before they find the treasure. And they've had people where, these huge pits where maybe they've collapsed. They're like booby trapped. If you move the wrong thing, water has filled the tunnels and killed some
Mm.
people. And a lot of it is the gases. Sometimes they got railed down too far, and out of there, some kind of gas or something came in and killed them. So that was kind of my thing. Like, these gases or something that's coming out of the core of the earth is really messing with some people. But the radio thing, I don't know how to explain that, how you're hearing stuff from years ago on a radio.
How deep is the deepest cave?
That's
What's
a
the
good
difference
question.
between a hole in the ground and a cave, right? Same shit.
Let's see here. The deepest cave, according to Google in the AI overview, is 7,257 feet,
Whoa, a lot
which is, in of
shallower
all
than I thought.
places, the Cave of Death, which is in Georgia. Not the state, the country.
Cave of Death. What a cool name.
Yeah, that's what they're calling it. But I think the real name, or another one, is the Verevkina Cave.
Oh, yeah.
Took a Russian cave explorer 50 years and 30 expeditions to reach the bottom of this cave.
You said 7,000 feet?
Yes.
That's just over a mile.
Yeah.
That's like a mile and a quarter.
That's what it says.
That's, man, I've always heard about like miles of cave and stuff like that, like underground.
I think there's miles of cave, but not miles down.
Depth. Okay.
Depth.
I mean, okay. Okay.
Okay,
let's do that. What's the longest cave? Because if we can do that, what's keeping it from going straight down? Right.
Yeah.
It's just how we find them.
The longest cave in the world is apparently the Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. It's the world's largest known cave system with more than 400 miles explored.
Okay, that makes more sense. Now we are talking, sir. Okay.
Which is
that's doable. So this isn't totally the fact that it goes straight down, or is odd. But and also, going back, how deep do roots go?
Like tree roots?
Yeah. You don't have to Google it. I mean, listen, we can pretend we're in 1997. We don't have smartphones.
Oh. So I mean, I've had to dig some holes, dig some septic systems, and they're usually. I mean, we've found some like 4 or 5, maybe 6 foot deep.
Do you think 10 feet? 20
I
feet?
think it's possible, but
20 feet would be tough. I
think so.
I would feel it. So, like, you would think if he was shining a light down there, he'd be able to see 20 feet deep if his string was caught up on a tree limb or something.
And that's a good point too. Like, there's no reports of it actually getting caught on anything. I mean, if he's able to actually put roughly 80,000 feet of line down there and it never gets tangled and it comes back up, that's wild. Even if it was 10,000 feet.
I don't know that he ever reels it back up. Well, I haven't got that far to the story yet, but how long do you think it takes to reel up 80,000 feet of line?
That's a day.
Your forearms are gone, sir.
And those reels though for catching shark are huge. So I mean, when you're reeling, it's not like you got your cheap little push button Spider-Man reel where and then you have like a fish on it and this and that. I mean, you have reels, so when you're reeling, it's multiple feet.
Well,
and who knows? He could have a contract. I mean, if he's a fish tournament, a lot of the ones especially in the fishing industry, they're on a mechanical thing. Who knows? Maybe he's got a rig like that and he just and it goes up. That'd be the move. Or maybe he's jacked like Popeye the Sailor Man. He just gets some spinach, a corncob pipe, and he's just reeling it up.
You got to remember, he's older.
Yeah, but it's like riding a bike. That's all he knows.
Oh,
Reeling them fish.
I heard y'all talking about riding a bike on a clip the other day. Okay. So 3 days later,
let's go. I mean,
Mel's back.
it's gaining popularity.
Yeah, he's popping off. 3 days later, Mel calls and he's like, "Yo, government's at my casa."
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's people. Yeah, there's people at my casa, and he calls them having a. They're in yellow gear.
Yellow gear. He also said in some of them that it looked like military gear, but he didn't recall patches or identification.
Yeah,
because he rolls up. He rolls up like he's going into there, and they stop him, and he's like, "This is my house." Like, well, you can't come on here. This is my property, and they're more or less like, not really anymore. And everything that I saw was like, wouldn't it be pretty bad for you if we find something on your property? If maybe we find, like a drug lab? And there was reports of, wasn't it him making some things out his house that could be said?
He's super into homeopathy and Native American herbs.
Yes.
Which in my head screams weed, but he claims it's not. That he has like alcohol and different other solutions to break things down. But he's like, he swears up and down to art that is all legal. It's all good to go. Nothing bad going on there.
Nothing to see over here.
Yeah, nothing. It's all good. It's all good. So it basically, yeah. But speaking of yellow gear, I had to look that up. If anybody's wondering, I had to Google it up. I think it's like Caterpillar machines. Mm-hmm. It makes sense to me, but some weird, Washington State slang, I'm guessing.
But yeah, they more or less tell him, "Hey, what if we find this drug lab? What if we do all this?" But as this is going on, a lot of people in the area start seeing some lights coming from the property. Bright lights, dark lights, potential UFOs. I mean, there is some things happening.
Not one person. Beam was the big one to me. How do you explain that?
I have no idea how you would explain that. And
I'm trying to envision it. I can't.
See, I have a vision of one of the weird, probably AI images that were put out on one of the YouTube videos, and it was just almost Ghostbuster-ish, where it's just black, darker than dark, black light, just a beam of it going up there. And it wasn't one, it wasn't two. There was several people, but what was odd, though, a lot of these people wouldn't say anything until kind of the dust settled. Because, I mean, let's be honest, you're in the 90s, you got the government or you have this agency looking at it, I'm probably shutting my mouth. I'm not getting involved in your business, your pit.
How do you think Art Bell felt when he found out, the government is listening? The government's listening to my show, which makes sense. Going,
yes, but shit.
That's how I found out about that Echelon thing. Echelon was out in 1997. Ooh. So that would have made sense.
Mm-hmm.
That they've been listening to us well before we had anything awesome, Yep. Before it was fast internet, they were still listening. They had a way.
Mm-hmm. And they kind of say, all right, well, here's your choices, bud. You're going to jail or you're going to Australia. Of all places.
Well, they also were giving him monies.
Yes, you get the monies, you get this, but don't come back. Or you will probably not have the monies, and it will not be a great time for you.
So it gets a little weirder with the buddies. I think they were giving him $250,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
He was paying his lease for $20,000 a month. Didn't tell his lease owner about this until she rolls out there as a woman. She rolls out there.
It was his ex, right?
I believe so.
Yep.
She's, the hell's going on out here? That's so she gets word of it. Yeah.
So let's put this out there. Government now is on property. Government pretty much claims property. The old, maybe they say eminent domain or whatever it is, and you're getting a large amount of money, and you're being told to relocate and more or less shut your mouth. But they just found out there's nothing there, right? Nothing there. Bullshit. Something's there.
They would not have to tell me to shut my mouth. I would know.
Yeah. And that's a lot of money to keep that mouth shut.
it was pretty humorous because it, like I said, you got to look at this through those glasses of like, this might be a hoax, but this is pretty awesome. At a certain point, Art Bell goes, "What were you doing in Australia?" And he's like, "I was rescuing wombats."
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Okay. And that's what we kept claiming. Just on this wombat mission.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm not even quite sure what a wombat is. I've heard the name, just never. I don't have a picture in my head of what it is.
Yeah.
Man, why did I write this word down? It means something here. You ever heard the word moho discontinuity? Let's look this up. I don't remember why I
got
wrote
you.
it
Oh,
down.
okay. No, it is definitely a thing. So the moho, which is moorific discontinuity, is also known as the moho, is a discrete jump in seismic wave velocities. A seismic discontinuity that has come to define the boundary between the crust and the mantle. So it is some earthy stuff.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what that was. Okay. He found that whenever he would go up to the university to try to find books on what's going on in his area. And that's one of the things that people say could cause a quote unquote never ending pit, the deepest pit on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Was
Because
this
the moho boundary between the Earth's crust and its mantle lies at a depth of about 22 miles.
so
And below continents and about 4.5 miles beneath the oceanic crust.
so I mean, we learned a new word.
We
At
did,
the very least. Do we understand what you just said? I don't. But I know a new word.
I remember back in the day they were talking about mantles and crusts and stuff, and I didn't overly pay attention. And it sucks because I'm doing rough math because everything is in kilometers. Because us being in the America, we go with miles, and everybody else does kilometers, and trying to do rough math is there. So it's yeah.
I think if you said 22 miles, that's what that's like 100,000 feet, somewhere around that, over 100,000 feet. So I mean, he hasn't hit that depth yet.
Yeah.
Technically, the moho discontinuity. As well as so there was a caller that called in and he's like, dude, I went to a college up in that area and my professor would talk about this pit. Right. So this isn't just one guy. This is town lore.
Oh, big time. And if the said pit was discovered today, it'd be tougher for the old government to cover it up. And it would be cool because we'd see it on, well, unless they ban it, we'd be able to see all these cool videos on TikTok. Maybe they'd actually throw some drones out there, but maybe the drones wouldn't work because of the technology.
That's what I was going to say. Would the phone even work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, in what's wild too is we talked about, you talked about the caterpillars and the equipment and the government, and there was still all of a sudden the lights kind of go away, they all kind of leave, and there is obvious tracks of heavy equipment, dirt being moved, dirt being brought, and there was so much activity. I mean, you can't hide it. I mean, it sounds like they filled the hole in, or at least hid where it is the best that they could. Maybe they went over the top. I mean, obviously you probably can't fill it in. My thought is they went over top and they just somehow hid it.
I mean, well, I don't know. I don't foresee unless. Did you ever see the show Lost?
Mm-mm.
Similar situation. The show Lost, BT dub. There was a military base entrance doorway, whatever you want to call it, that they kind of blocked off. It's just a hole in the ground that actually, but it actually went somewhere. Similar thing. Yeah, I don't foresee them messing it up or trying to destroy it unless it was something that they made and they want to get rid of, they forgot about, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, if they were able to come in, know about it, hear about it, get there, do whatever they do, hide it, whatever, that quickly, and then to the point where people still can't really find where it is. I bet you it wasn't the first time. They couldn't have been the first one, the first time, the only one. They've dealt with this kind of stuff before.
For sure.
Yeah.
And they're very close to a military base.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 2 military bases. One of them's nuclear, and then the other one is just a training site that did a lot of clandestine things in Desert Storm. Like there's satellite dishes and shit on this place that aren't supposed to be there. Like it was very top secret spot.
That was kind of my thought, is nuclear, some kind of testing or something. Like maybe they took a smaller style bomb or some kind of reaction, blew a huge hole in there that would explain the radioactivity, with the weird stuff, the animals, the spot. I don't know. That was my first thing, is some kind of nuclear test that just blasted, that they weren't. I mean, it's not like back then they had to report all of this, or we even know where all of the nuclear bases and stuff are,
Side thought, what if there's a monster down there and they've just been keeping it sedated by feeding it? The second they stop feeding it, we die.
Pissed.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
At this point, I just got into a point where he entered. I don't know if you heard about this. He ended up in San Francisco.
Like after he came back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
this is kind of where my story. I'm in the gray area now. So you have to fill me in here, boss.
Yep. Before we jump into that, let's just go back to one more thing. We should have mentioned this earlier with the animals. We got to talk about the sheep.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we got to talk to the
sheep. Trigger warning for anybody that loves animals.
Yes. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. We talked about it before. Like, that's our bad. All right. Are we professional at this? No, but we had a lot going on here. They weren't going to just put a Texan in the hole. Said, hey, I appreciate your bravery, but we're going to put an animal. We're going to put a sheep. And it was something that Mel, I think he had to say, but he definitely regretted this. But what happened, I don't think he regretted seeing. So they take a sheep, they put it in a cage, but before they even get the sheep to the hole, it's freaking out. And didn't they have to knock it out to get it down? Yeah. So they knock the old sheep out and they lower said sheep. And all of a sudden, as it's being lowered, it comes back out of being knocked out and freaks out. It's going nuts in a cage. Then all of a sudden, it just stops. So they assume El Sheep is dead. They bring the sheep up and they look at the sheep. Doesn't look like too bad, right? But they had a table there. It was in the plan. We got to cut this thing open, see what happens. They cut open the sheep and it appeared to be cooked from the inside out. I don't know how that's possible. I know you've done some barbecuing in your day, and I don't know how it's possible to cook something from the inside and not on the outside.
You stuff it with charcoals, basically.
No,
that's
not even the most weird part. So they see, it's already pretty much cooked. I don't think anybody ate it. Hopefully not. But they noticed that there was a tumor or a cyst. So they're like, oh, shit, I guess we should cut this thing open. They cut it open, and they see some kind of seal-like creature with human-looking eyes alive inside the sheep. And I have to imagine that people have they've cut open some sheep in their day, and this isn't a normal thing. I've personally never cut open a sheep, but I can't imagine it's there. And it's alive. And it's just kind of, as they reported, there's several people that are around this and reporting at the time that had just kind of looked and watched.
Man, I want to believe it.
Yep. And then, I mean, more or less, it's looking at them. It's not doing real well. It's kind of freaking out, but it's still kind of calm. It's looking like it's going to die. So they decided, hey, let's throw it back in the pit where it belongs.
See.
And it was almost like they said that it wanted to go there. It wanted to go back home. I don't know what to make of that, but
now there is a monster down there breeding. Turns out,
breeding quickly.
Can't even say that joke, but it was funny. It was a funny joke.
You want to hear that joke? Check out the Patreon that doesn't exist. But yeah, so that was one experiment that definitely caught some traction. And then obviously the government goes in there, they send him to Australia. But then he decides, wombats are for me, and he comes back home.
Mm-hmm.
More or less loses all the money, loses pretty much everything he has, ends out up in kind of the West Coast, still trying to figure some things out. But what I've been told is he somehow stumbled upon another hole.
I don't even know this part.
Yeah, there was apparently a second hole, and I sorry, I was reading the notes on the sheep, but apparently he does find a second hole. And there's not much evidence. There wasn't a lot of traction to it. So I don't know if this was just him being like, I found another one, guys. And it kind of credibility of the first one maybe goes, pew. But I didn't find a ton of stuff on said second hole. But I mean, these days, I mean, there's even reports of people that are, sending explorations out, trying to find the hole, and nobody can find this thing anymore. But I have to imagine if the government's trying to hide some stuff, you're probably not gonna find it. But if you do Google Mel's Hole, there's coordinations.
Yeah, there are coordinates out there that, man, it would stink. The coordinates of your house go out to all these crazies. People are gonna start showing up, dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can even really get on the old lovely Reddit, and they have the coordinates right out there. There's a whole interesting conversation that says, anyone want to try to find Mel's Hole with me? But there are some people that claim to have found the hole on Google Maps in northern Ellensburg. But with that being said, too, there was an old system of maps before Google Maps that actually took that area and they blocked it out on the map, and it is considered a no-fly zone. I don't know if you heard that or not.
Well, could you chalk that up to the Manford nuclear site only being 30 miles from the site of this place that Mel's talking about?
It could be.
So, yeah, so there's that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of military bases up there. Also, we haven't rolled out Bigfoot in the area because it is Washington. Yeah.
Oh, a Bigfoot community. They found the community. That's why you can't take pictures, because they're all blurry and
they're impregnating sheep with their fire wieners. That's funny.
That's pretty good. But what was wild too is, when he gets back into the States or whatever, I remember the story, and sorry to go back in it, but he just kind of remembers waking up in San Francisco.
Yeah. So the way I understand it is, this is the exact moment I left off last night, for this show, and he's helping somebody move from Olympia, Washington to
Tacoma.
Tacoma, and it's only about a 30-mile drive, but he had to return the U-Haul truck, and he had to ride the bus back to Olympia or Tacoma. I don't remember which one. Yep. Anyways, on the way back, there is a fight on the bus, and they have to pull over at the Fife rest stop. And this is a verifiable place that you can look up, FIFE. And this is where they pull over. And as the police are interrogating everybody on the bus, like, what happened, blah, 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 they spent a little bit more time on Mel and asked him a couple of questions like, hey, what are you doing, blah, blah, blah. And then that's the last thing he remembers.
Yeah.
He wakes up in San Francisco 12 days later, missing all of his molars, and they had stolen his belt buckle.
Yeah, he was missing his wallet, his keys, his belt buckle, and all of his back molars.
Art Bell makes a pretty funny joke at this point where he's like, you could take my teeth and my money, but don't take a man's belt buckle. Yeah.
And there was even signs that he had been given an IV.
Yes.
Yeah. And he had also discovered that his land lease was revoked, ironically, for improper use of the property while he was away. So he's broke, he's struggling, and then he would actually call Art 2 more times with updates. It was January 29th and December 20th of 2002.
He says something very interesting on the call that he makes with Art right after he's explaining him getting his teeth removed and the IV and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I don't think it has anything to do with the hole. It might be other things I was doing. But he doesn't really expand on that. So I don't know what that means.
And he was actually contacted by Native Americans in the northern Nevada region who offered to collaborate on his medicinal herb research.
Really?
Mm-hmm. While he was sharing knowledge, they made him aware of another mysterious hole that may have enhanced their plants. This time, though, it was on federal property used as grazing land for the community of the Basque Shepherds. So he would continue to captivate art with tales of fiery ice exhibitions and all these dense property settlements and another worldly creature exiting this hole. Not only that, but Mel possessed U.S. dimes that might be proof of a parallel reality, the same ones that he'd affixed to his stolen belt buckles. Oh yeah, he was always adding weird coins and different dimes that he would find around the hole. He would make these belt buckles and put a coin on every single one of these that he made.
Yeah, he would. A lot of the belt buckles are made out of these metals that changed near the hole as well.
Yeah. Like
he made 10 of them, sold them. Yeah, he made 10 of them apparently. Sold them around town, but this is the one that he kept. Yeah,
parallel universe. All of these weird coins. I don't know how to explain that, but I'm not a coin collector as well. If anybody out there is
nerds.
So yeah, so the Native Americans were the ones that pointed out that there was potentially another hole.
Maybe we're always thinking that they're going, maybe they're going,
found another hole. People are probably thinking we are a hole that is full of asses. Asshole. But it's crazy that the internet has really eaten this up. So I mean, we're about to wrap up here. So I mean, let's close with our thoughts. Like, is it a hoax? Is it real? I mean, we've kind of hinted around the whole entire episode of what we think it could be, but hoax.
I want it to be real.
I want to believe.
Lack of evidence. I mean,
I feel like is the government hiding it. There's no way that all of those people saw the government covering stuff up. That's pretty much out there, right? And we've known our government to do some things like this.
I don't understand what is the reason to hide it? I just don't. Yeah. There's so many things that people are like, the government is hiding it from it. Why? Just tell me why, or give me an idea why. And there's always just like, I don't know, but there's something there.
Okay, the same reason that the government hid the fact that UFOs were real for so long until they kind of were forced to be like, ha, sorry, but yeah, they were real. Here's all the things. And then they do the smoke and the mirrors, maybe like the drones. What were the drones? And now nobody's talking about it because all of a sudden there's a huge fire in LA.
Started by drones.
Something going on. Smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors, smoke and mirrors.
I don't like not knowing, and then it all dominoes into this crazy things. Like, why can't we go to Antarctica? I don't know. Yeah.
A place that was full of life and dinosaurs, and
that's what they want you to think, man.
Yeah, I mean, are dinosaurs even real? They're not real in museums.
I have a friend that is a staunch believer that dinosaurs' bones were put in the ground by the devil to trick us. And Hollywood is just there to make us not believe in God.
Hey, that's what's beauty of the way that we're transitioning this show. We can take any of these theories, any of these things, and just continually run and give facts how we do, and we put our take on it. And this is fun. It's kind of rejuvenated us in this show. Like I'm loving digging into this. And did we get to every single fact in this? No, but
no, there's so much I wanted to say. I kept looking at the clock going, oh.
See, thankfully for me, the clock is located over here. So I'm looking here. So I haven't looked at it. I just did a little bit ago and I'm like, oh, we're pretty much at the hour mark. Like I said, I mean, if let's put it to the viewers, listeners, if there are any out there, if you want us to do a part 2, more detailed, kind of on this, let us know. We'll do it. But at the same point,
if you want us to revisit Mel's hole,
then we will. We'll dive deeper. We'll give you more specifics on some stuff. We wanted to kind of do a generic thing. We can always circle back. I've seen all sorts of other shows where they do one, and then a month or two later, they're like, all right, you wanted some more? We have to take the time, really do the research, and we will. I'm cool with that. But like I said, if we don't hear from you, then we'll roll into next week.
I have a lot of free time doing cardio, so if there is media upon these stories, I can get it and suck it up.
Yes, suck it up and Mel's hole. There's another joke in there. But either way, I'm sure you want to get going on said cardio. And yeah.
I'm about to pee myself.
Oh,
if you see me shaking like this the whole show.
I just thought it was the pre-workout, which is a body round pre-workout that you can get at beardlawstudio.com. Use code, there isn't any because we didn't set it up because Burley's the only one that bought it, but it's there. And we got some cool stuff. We're rolling out some stuff. We got some cool merch. Working on a super sober. Did I release the super sober shirt? I think I did.
I don't know. I saw the render, but I didn't know if it was out. I need to buy that today.
Go over to the Beard Laws studio, everyone, and you guys can get a super sober shirt inspired by Zay Burley. And there is, let me check it out here. We got 30 seconds before he pees himself. There's all sorts of stuff. I don't know if I put it out there, but any of these shows, any of the stuff, there is said merch. It's good stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right. Well, we will see all of you beautiful people. We won't actually see you, but hopefully you'll be back and see us next week. And we don't know what we're talking about yet, but it's going to be pretty good and intriguing. Good. If you have any recommendations on some stories, put it in the comments. If not, well, we'll call it good. So I got nothing else to you.
Nope.
All right, Mulder and Scully, we're out of here.
Toodaloo.
We'll see you next week. Goodbye.